Hello, everyone. Episode 2 of the Domer Nurse Podcast. I am your host, Greg Schaefer. Wow, 2 episodes. Here we go. All right, this is about 1.5 more episodes than I thought would come off of this. That's okay. Pretty excited about it. Lots happened since the first episode, just one episode, and a lot's happened already. And I'll tell you what I mean by 1.5 more episodes than I thought I would have. Last week, about this time, I was searching through the trash can looking for plastic and sending all this stuff back because I'm so bad with technology. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm 30 years old, and technology is not my friend. So, I'm very excited. A lot of big things. First off, just thank everyone for your support so far. It's been awesome. Everybody's asking, oh, when's the next episode? Or, how many are you going to do? And what's your plan? I don't want to commit to anything right now. I do want to try to do once a week. But I will say right off the crack, if a story doesn't interest me, then and I'm not passionate about it, I don't want to give it to you. I think that's where a lot of I'm not a sportscaster, but a lot of people in the radio, podcasting, whatever it may be, I think that's where they go wrong. They're not passionate about it. They do it every day, and it's just kind of like, just throw a topic out there. Okay, now all of a sudden I'm passionate about it, and I've made some awful or egregious claim, and you're not even close to being right. So it's just to keep them entertained. But since the last show, big stuff. This is now the official podcast of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus, ran by Mark Hassan. He sent me a message last Sunday, the day after the first episode. Super excited about it. Excited where this might take us. Big things being talked about. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but definitely a huge opportunity. That's for sure. And, more news to come in the coming episodes, and we'll see how this goes. Keep the support going. Again, thanks to everyone who's supported me. And, find the page on Facebook. There is now a Domer Nurse Podcast Facebook page, as well as my Twitter handle is @DomerNurse09. Don't think I threw that out there in the last episode, but not a professional with this quite yet. So before we get started, real quick, is there another Cane's Chicken anywhere? I'll tell you where I'm going with this is so I don't disclose exactly what town I live in. Everybody pretty much knows I'm from Ohio, but sports fans are crazy, and clearly I'm sitting here talking to myself basically. We're all nuts, and it's just what degree are you nuts? So I'm not going to give my exact location, but there's one that opened up near here, and apparently it must be the only one because my tax dollars are paying for 3 police officers and more cones than any construction site I've ever seen in order to get these people in and out like they're waiting on tickets for a freaking AC/DC concert. It's nuts. That must be more than chicken in there. It is just chicken, right? I don't think I've ever eaten it one. In any event, either chicken or cocaine or I don't know what's going on in there. Special massages. All right, guys. So with that being said, let's have some fun. This is our starting lineup for the week. Leading off for us is going to be the NFL quarterback situation. A lot of swapping being talked about. I talked about it a little bit on my last episode, where I'm going to go with this week. On deck topic, the UCONN Women's basketball team and their incredible streak. Homer in the Hole, where I talk about my teams, and where you can just kind of fast forward to the next phase of the show if you don't want to hear about it. Today we're just strictly Notre Dame recruiting for 2018. I know the recruiting class just got taken up for 2017. I want to touch on 2018. Big things happening for our recruiting class. Coach Elko, Coach Kelly, they're knocking it out of the park for the 2018 class next year. But I'm only going to touch on that just because either episode 3 or episode 4 is going to be a completely rundown of all of Notre Dame. It's going to be Notre Dame basketball. It's going to be men and women, and then it's going to be the football program. And we could almost do a whole 2 or 3 hours on that, but I don't want to go that far on that. And then so I kind of want to knock out the 2018, just touch on that, kind of lighten my load for that show. I'm really excited about that show. That is going to be it's going to be a fun one. A lot of people, a lot of Notre Dame fans clearly going to be very excited about that one, especially now that we are the official Notre Dame Club of Columbus Fan Club of Columbus podcast. Coming up in the hole for us today is going to be the McGregor-Mayweather buzz. You're probably going to hear my first rant. As a podcaster doing this, there's going to be a good rant probably to come from this. And then our backup quarterback section of the day, which, like I said last week, the backup quarterback section is going to be the segment that either saves the show, or it runs us all the way to the bottom of the ocean. So you might get Kaepernick taking you to the Super Bowl. You might get Tom Brady after Drew Bledsoe goes down, or you may get Coy Detmer, or I don't know another bad backup quarterback, Jason Campbell, coming in for you. So, with that being said, the NFL quarterback swapping leading off for us today. Is this the year? Is this the year that multiple quarterbacks change teams? I don't know. I'm kind of going off of an article. It's a little bit of an old article. It's from February 12th this year. Brad Gagnon, he's an NFL national columnist. It's from Bleacher Report, and it's just stuck with me. This one did. I've read some of his stuff. He's pretty good. As far as that goes, a lot of his articles are very solid, well thought out. This one's pretty short and to the point, but it stuck with me. It stuck with me to the point we had a family gathering a couple weeks ago, and me and my brother-in-law were just going back and forth on this guy's takes and where we thought a lot of these quarterbacks would go. And, these quarterback carousel, if you will, you're going to hear that term a lot. It kind of reminds me of like the big storm that the weathercasters call out for, and then it just never comes. Everybody's bread and milking it, and people that don't even buy bread and milk going to the store and buying it, and then the storm never comes. So, most years there's always, is this guy going here, is this guy going there, and you get one or two moves. They're not that impactful. At the end of the day, it's like, what are we talking about here? You're talking about a couple middle-of-the-road teams, a couple 8-8 teams. This story is on Bleacher Report if you kind of want to follow along on that and, print it off, look at it. Whatever. It is very interesting where they think these quarterbacks are going to fall. I'm just going to go right in line with Brad's article here and just kind of go off of that, and that's how I'm going to run down these quarterbacks. And my take on it is just going to be, do I think it's a good fit? Where he thinks they're going to go, I'll give you his prediction, and then I'll tell you where I think they're going to go and whether they're a fit for my team or not. My team's the Bears. That's about enough said there. But, I'll let you know if I think this guy has a fit in the Bears or not. First one up is Tony Romo. Romo, a lot of injuries. I think people are going to forget kind of the human element involved in a lot of these athletes, and that exists. It does. People forget that there is a human element to these athletes. And Brad's got him going to the Houston Texans and taking over for Osweiler. I think that's the only fit for Romo at this stage of his career. He's 37 years old. He's got battled injuries the last couple seasons, missed a ton of games. I think that's the only fit outside of him staying put. What I mean by the human element of all of it is he has a house in Texas. He apparently loves it there, and I don't see him going anywhere else other than Texas. I mean, essentially, I've even read some places the Bears might want him and this and that, and I'm like, if you could guarantee me a Tony Romo that's going to play 16 games at his high level, well, of course, we'd all take him on our team. Half the league would be trading in for that. But you got to call a spade, and he's essentially Cutler with a better personality at this point. I mean, he's a likable guy where Cutler is a pain in the ass. It always has that glum look on his face. And I do think that it's still an option to go ahead and keep Romo in Dallas. You don't have to pay Dak yet. There's no reason to pay Dak Prescott yet. He's going into his second year. And, if he sophomore slumps, hey, what better to have than Romo off the bench, or if he gets hurt? Injuries happen constantly in the NFL. So what if he gets hurt? Then you have Tony coming off the bench. If Tony gets hurt at that point, you lose two quarterbacks in a season, your season's done anyway. You can't plan like, well, what if the backup gets hurt? You can't do that. You can't plan like that. It's a luxury to have Tony as a second stringer. Say Dak gets hurt game 11 of the season. Well, Tony doesn't have to play that many games either. Get you to 11 through 16, and see what happens going into the playoffs. Now, I have heard that Denver is a possibility. I don't know. This kind of goes back to how I felt about Peyton Manning going to Denver. I thought that was a mistake with the injuries and the neck and the cold weather. You're talking about a quarterback that played his entire career in a dome, and I thought he would go to Arizona personally. To me, Peyton may still be playing today if we're not talking about cold weather outside. He goes to Arizona, not to get too far off Tony Romo, but if he goes to Arizona, he's playing in a dome. 8 games out of the year. He's going to San Fran, relatively warm weather. He's going to St. Louis at the time, which is a dome. And then he's going to Seattle. That's kind of a pain. So we're talking 3/4 of the games that he plays are in a dome still. Not dealing with cold weather, which can affect, the neck surgeries that he had and, exacerbate injury and make him feel even worse. Who knows? Maybe Peyton's still playing today. But, I don't think Denver's a good fit for Romo, irregardless of how good that defense is. See, I don't think they can be able to keep him healthy. There are not enough weapons there. I love the weapons the Texans have with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. That's very nice. And if Tony's willing to take a pay cut, I could see him going to Houston. Like I said, it seems like, from everything I've heard, I'm not an insider by any stretch, but a few rumblings that he does like where he lives down there, where he wants to be. Again, wouldn't want him on the Bears. But my official prediction, I think he stays with the Cowboys. If he likes it there, either that or retires. I've also heard that he's getting broadcast offers like crazy to become a broadcaster. So, I think either retirement or stays with the Cowboys. And I'll get to why I don't think the Texans are the leader in the clubhouse for Tony Romo. Next quarterback up on this list and from this article is Tyrod Taylor. Brad on this article has got him going to the Jets. I don't think so. I think one of the dark horse teams not being talked about is the Vikings. Actually, everything I've listened to this quarterback carousel, and this is a big deal. I mean, there's not much going on in sports. We're pre-March Madness. We're pre-baseball. So this is kind of a big story on every sports radio, sports anything that I have looked at is this quarterback carousel. And I have not heard that Tyrod to the Vikings. I mean, if you look at it, they're essentially the same player, Tyrod Taylor and Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy is, who knows how long he's going to be out. They're talking about he's out for this year as well. Anybody that doesn't know, he hurt his knee in preseason last season, 2016, and for the most part, pretty much amputated his lower leg. I mean, there was so much damage. They said that it was close to that. He almost lost his leg over this injury. And we're talking about the same style player, not crazy elusive, but elusive enough. Decent arm, doesn't do anything great, does a lot of things well. And if they can keep Adrian Peterson up there, Sam Bradford's not the answer in my opinion. He's about made of glass too. So, similar player. Not my official prediction because I haven't heard it. Just something that I just wanted to chuck out there. Would I take him on the Bears? As a Band-Aid, sure, but he's going to demand a lot of money. Not at the price that he would come with. Not for me. Like I said, this article says to the Jets. I don't know. Not for me. I don't think he's going to go to the Jets. Probably my official prediction is I think he stays put as well. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I think he'll stay up there with the Bills. They're having a new coach anyway, and have a coach that's not so defensive minded and such a contrarian like Rex Ryan was. So we'll see. I think Tyrod's interesting. He was average in college. He's nice, but average. And then he goes to the Ravens and backed up Flacco very well. And then now he goes up to the Bills, and he's a starter. I mean, he's a nice starter. He's a middle-of-the-road guy. He's no Tom Brady, of course, or, not many are, or not Matt Ryan, or, that level. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. He's not that level, but he's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Which leads me into the next quarterback on this list is Kirk Cousins. This one's got me pretty fired up. Speaking of quarterbacks who, average in college, average at best, this guy has just never passed the eye test for me. I was actually even kind of shocked he was drafted as high as he was. He's a third-round pick, same year as RG3. And now, he's the man. There's a lot of money there. He just never passed the eye test for me. I mean, he threw for a lot of yards this past season. He actually threw for almost 5,000 yards, which is incredible. I did not know, honestly, that he threw for that many yards. It was 4,917 yards he threw for, 25 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It's a 65.9 completion percentage. He's very inconsistent. Even in this article, that's one of the words he uses, just inconsistent. This one got me fired up this week because a caller on another radio station I was listening to was talking about how he's worth every penny and this and that. And the kind of the subject line was, if they keep franchise tagging Kirk Cousins, he's going to get it. Let's just hypothetically say, per this show I was listening to, hypothetically he gets tagged for the next 3 years. He's going to make $80 million over the next 3 years. That's nuts. When you think about Kirk Cousins, $80 million, that shows how out of control the market is, number one. But that is insane. And if they tag him this year, he's going to be getting $24 million. $24 million for Kirk Cousins, a guy that took you 9-7, 9-8 in 2015, and 2016 took you 8-7-1. 2015 they went 9-8 with the loss to the Packers in the wild card weekend. Yeah, I mean, he's had some nice yards, but look at yards are kind of an overrated statistic. If you look this up, I was show prepping a little bit, and here's your leaders in yards last season. Top 12. Got Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins at number 3. That's awesome. Wow, that's feathering your cap. Okay, Aaron Rodgers at number 4. Okay, Phillip Rivers, Matt Stafford, Joe Flacco, Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, Russell Wilson, Andy Dalton, and Jameis Winston. There are only 4 quarterbacks in the top 12. There's 12 teams in the top 12 of yards. There's only 12 teams that make the playoffs. Only 4 of those, actually 5, made the playoffs. So kind of an overrated statistic. And from 2015 to 2016, actually Cousins' numbers got worse. He threw for less touchdowns, more interceptions, threw for more yards. Of course, he only threw for 4,100 yards in 2015. And his wins aren't that great. He's beaten the Rams, he's beaten the Buccaneers, and that was in Jameis's first year, and beat the Bears. Everybody beats the Bears, dear God. He's clipped the Giants a couple times. He beat them last year and this year. Just inconsistent, but I don't know what they're going to do. This article says he's going to go to Washington, go to the Skins, or stick with the Skins. And that's kind of what I think, too. I think he stays with Washington due to, where else are they going to go? What else are they going to do? Colt McCoy is their backup. I don't know if anybody remembers him. Awesome college quarterback at Texas. But he's not an answer. So do you take a guy who's throwing for 5,000 yards nearly, and, he's getting you close to the playoffs? If they beat the Giants week 17 this past season, they're going to the playoffs. That had been back-to-back years going to the playoffs with Washington. I mean, that's great. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do? You let him go. He actually doesn't. There's rumors floating around that he doesn't want to be there with Jay Gruden, and that he may head out and play for the Niners when Kyle Shanahan was his OC there in Washington before he went to Atlanta. So that's the other location. But I think he stays put just because the Redskins have never had a problem overpaying for players. Dan Snyder, think Albert Haynesworth. Sign that big deal, and then he comes in fat and out of shape. For lack of a better term, he's fat and out of shape. Mike Golick got up off his couch during Mike and Mike and did the fitness test that he needed to do that Albert Haynesworth couldn't do. They overpaid for Deshaun Jackson. Dan Snyder doesn't, money, it kind of sucks, if you're a Skins fan to have that situation, but I can see Dan Snyder going ahead and at least tagging him through this season because there's nothing out there, and their draft position's not viable for a decent quarterback coming in. So I agree. I think he's just going to stay with the Skins. Even though there's a lot of smoke with going out and playing with the 49ers and Shanahan. So we'll see. It's definitely interesting. I wouldn't want him on the Bears. Not at that price. Kind of like Tyrod, okay, if you're going to be doing it as a Band-Aid, and that's great, but I'm not paying that price for him. I don't want that contract because I don't see it. He doesn't pass my eye test. Next quarterback on the list, Colin Kaepernick. Before I get into Kaepernick, I used to like this guy a lot. This is just going to show how much of a college football degenerate that I am. In 2009, I can reel this off. This is without notes, okay? I promise you this is without notes. Just because I watch so much college football. 2009, Colin Kaepernick, running back named Vitala, and Luke Lippincott all rushed for over 1,000 yards in Chris Alt's pistol offense. It was awesome. It was so fun to watch. And then the next season, Vitala was back, and with Kaepernick, they both went it for over 1,000 again, and went 13-1, beat I think their one loss, I'm pretty sure it was Hawaii. I'm almost 99% sure of that. And then they beat BC in the something make up a name bowl. But yeah, I used to love watching this guy. He was really fun to watch in college, and I'm really shocked he made it. Took a team to the Super Bowl. Just never thought he was really much of a pro quarterback, but more power to him. Not a big fan of him now. I just think that he's kind of a head case. All the political stuff and social stances aside, I mean, the guy he slowly declined, and the team just slowly declined with him there. He's got a long throwing motion. He even showed to not be as fast as he was before, not as elusive. He doesn't have any weapons out there, but still, I mean, this guy, he's not even making plays. A good playmaker is going to make a few plays. I mean, this guy's rolling out of the pocket, and he's either running, he'll get his 15-yard gain a game, or he'll just chuck it out of bounds. And just before I even get to the Bears, do I want him on my team? Hell no. I don't want Colin Kaepernick. I don't want the headache. And I don't, he's not productive enough to deal with the headache. Think the Tim Tebow effect. Tim Tebow was his own worst enemy. He wasn't playing that well. He wasn't lighting the world on fire, and he wasn't really producing. And teams aren't going to take that headache, that media storm, if you're not producing. I guess my prediction, they say this article says he's going to linger around and eventually sign with the Broncos. I don't see that. I think that really messes with Paxton Lynch's progression. Plus, you got Trevor Siemian there. He played nice this year. He's another shocking quarterback. I can't believe Trevor Siemian, 27 touchdowns and 24 interceptions in his career at Northwestern. Yeah, I'm that much of a college football degenerate, but that blows my mind. 27 and 24. Trevor Siemian is playing in the league as a starter. Crazy. But yeah, I don't know who wants him at this stage in his career. I could see maybe backing up in my. I do think he gets cut. He's got a very team-friendly contract. And, maybe the Dolphins. He's kind of similar to Tannehill. He could back up down there. And then, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he loves rocking the Dolphins hat, so maybe he does end up there. Or the Browns. I mean, I don't know what the Browns are going to do. But yeah, it's definitely getting cut. I don't think Shanahan wants him. He's like I said, team-friendly deal. And, maybe the Browns get him and Kessler. I've heard some rumblings actually just this week that they might even be cutting RG3. So, I mean, I guess that's out there. You get rid of McCown and you get rid of RG3 in favor of Kaepernick and Kessler, I guess. I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough situation as well. Next one up is Jay Cutler. Heard this week he's actually even thinking about retiring. I think Jay's got some good football left. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I don't hate Jay Cutler by any means. He drives me nuts. He's that quarterback that's going to make a spectacular play. You're going to run to your computer as a fan and like, man, I got to have Jay's jersey. And then he'll make 3 boneheaded decisions. And as of late, it gets hit after those 3 boneheaded decisions, and then I'm hurt for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or out for the rest of the year. So, I don't know. I don't think he's terrible. This has him going to the Bills. I don't think that. No, I don't like that. I don't think that's right. We'll see. My prediction actually is that he's going to head up and play for the Jets. I like the Jets on this. Matt Forte's already there. Brandon Marshall, bringing them all back together. Even though I always heard that Marshall and Cutler didn't really get along, but I could see that. Who do they have up there? They have Bryce Petty and they have Christian Hackenberg, and neither one of them's really working out. So and I hear they do like Petty quite a bit. Hackenberg can't even figure out how to put on pants right now. That dude's a mess. He's a mess. If anybody can remember Joel Stave at Wisconsin, who they said got the yips and couldn't throw a football, like couldn't mentally throw a football because he just had what they call the yips. That's what Hackenberg's done. He's completely regressed. I heard it. He was healthy scratch most of this year, meaning that he was not hurt and didn't even dress for games. And we're talking about a guy that after his freshman year at Penn State, could have been the number 1 overall pick. So yeah, I could see Cutler if they really like Petty. I could see him getting rid of Fitzpatrick up there, and then Cutler heading up to the Jets, playing again with Forte and Brandon Marshall. And see how that works out. Next one up. Brock Osweiler. Oh, Brock Osweiler. And I'm just going to skip right to it. What it says in this article is that the Texans, if they go for Romo, that Osweiler signs a 1-year deal with the Bears to reunite him with John Fox. If this happens as a Bears fan, if you're my friend, you will keep me on the first floor of all establishments so that I don't jump out a window and take myself out. No, thank you. I liked his progression when he played with the Broncos. It was almost like a minor league system. It's kind of the closest thing you could have to a minor league system. You had Peyton on his way out, and then, hey, this guy's tallest quarterback in the league. He's got a nice arm, and then he demanded too much money. They were grooming him. They were grooming him out there, and if he's just a decent dude and doesn't have this big ego, they all have egos, and it's to what extent. I mean, if he doesn't have this, I want that. That's my money I want. And John Elway was smart enough to say, no, I'll roll with Trevor Siemian. You're not that good. Then essentially that would have been their quarterback this year, and they would have been in a mess. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs anyway. Who knows? Maybe he's the difference. But, they didn't pay him, and I wouldn't want him on my team, not at that price. I heard Vince Young is talking about coming back. In fact, before this show started, one of the things I was reading was that his agent's been in touch with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, easy for me to say, of the Canadian Football League, and Vince Young's going to try to make a comeback. Sign me up, because we could pay him a $20 bill and some Slim Jims to play, and I'll take Vince Young in Chicago over top of what I seen from Osweiler last year. My prediction is he stays in Houston, and they have enough cap space in Houston to go ahead, and if they do want Romo, and Romo plays a team-friendly deal in negotiations, I could see him keeping both. See how it rolls with Romo. When he inevitably gets hurt, Osweiler comes back in, and then kind of goes from there. But they actually owe him $16 million in 2017 regardless. So luckily they have enough cap space. My prediction is he stays. Like I said, this article says that Romo is going to come to the Texans and then Osweiler's on his way out, but I don't think so. I mean, you look at what Osweiler did with he even had weapons. He got DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller down there, and Alfred Blue playing running back, and he couldn't do anything. He had one of the second worst passer rating in the league this season. The guy that can't do that, actually, who I think would work out of this draft to go to the Texans would be Deshaun Kaiser if he falls that far. Kaiser's a big quarterback. He can move around. He played well with Will Fuller. He's got some weapons. We'll see. I was going to delve into some Kaiser, Trubisky, Deshaun Watson talk, but not on this show. The draft's coming up. That'll be a future show. This Patrick Mahomes thing has me pretty fired up, but not this episode. We'll get to some draft talk as long as keep getting love and support and keep this thing rolling. Last quarterback on the list, and we'll wrap up our leadoff man here, is Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the big quarterback everybody's wanting. That's Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup for Tom Brady. Buyer beware for me. Just because, you look at the backups. Here's a few backups from Tom Brady's, the opening of Tom Brady's career, throughout his career. He's had Rohan Davey, Matt Castle, Brian Hoyer, Matt Gutierrez, and Ryan Mallett. Matt Castle took him to 11-5 season the year that Tom Brady tore his ACL. I don't know. None of those guys jump off the page at me. Buyer beware. That system's something else, and Tom's been able to do it. Jimmy showed signs of being able to do it in his couple starts there. But I've actually heard they like Jacoby Brissett better, the rookie out of NC State. He came in, he looked nice. But I've heard they like him better from everything that I'm reading. And really the only other team for me that out there is the Browns would take him because they have 2 first-rounders, and that's what the Pats want. I wouldn't want him on the Bears. I want him on the Bears. In fact, I like the kid, but I don't want him at that price. I keep saying that, but if they want a first-round pick, I'd say I don't want him. There's too many other needs on this team. If we were a quarterback away, if we were Denver, quarterback away, done. Sign me up. Let's go. I want Jimmy Garoppolo. We got to trade that third overall pick. The Bears are sitting with a 3rd overall pick. No thanks. I'm good. I'll take Jonathan Allen, Alabama defensive end. I like him a lot. So, the Browns do have the ammo to go get him. So give them number 12 if you think that's your franchise. But I don't even see the Browns doing it. The Patriots just want too much. So actually in this article, like I said, it says the Browns take him. I don't think so. I think he stays put. And that's a good problem to have. If you think Jacoby Brissett is the heir apparent to Tom Brady, then great. But let's say he gets hurt, or that one season last year wasn't what you were thinking it was, and then you got Garoppolo to just fill on in there. Let's say they're going to camp this summer, and all of a sudden it's like, we missed. Yeah, Brissett, he had a little nice flash last year, but now for us now, well, okay, when Tom retired, you got them both. You pick what you want. You're playing with the cards. So that wraps up the leadoff man for this week. On deck this week is UCONN Women's Basketball. And I know what you're thinking. Do I not want this program to succeed? Talking about women's basketball in week 2. Good night. Well, I'll tell you why I got on this. So, as an actual nurse, yes, they let this guy attempt to save lives. And I always worked ER trauma stuff, an emergent care environment. One advantage I have in doing a podcast is I get to talk to a lot of people, and they're brief encounters for the most part, and very focused on the healthcare itself. But many times, especially living in Central Ohio, you get what's on the forefront of a patient's mind. You don't have them that long. It's more focused on their care, but you have banter with them and conversation. And living in Central Ohio, it's always college football. 3 times in the last couple of weeks. Right after college football, right after the talk of college football, we get UConn basketball, UConn Women. When's the last time anybody wanted to talk to you about women's basketball? Now, I admit, because I'm a Notre Dame degenerate, that I probably watch more women's college basketball than I care to admit. I'm a huge Muffet McGraw fan at Notre Dame. She is awesome, super classy lady. I love watching the girls' team, but this UConn basketball stuff, this has people intrigued. Like I said, older gentlemen wanting to talk women's basketball with you. It's like the second thing that came out of their mouth. And I was like, that's cool. I'm really excited about this because now I see another opportunity of how to pick topics for my show. Like I said, get something that's on the forefront of people's minds. I've won a couple more games since the original. Since the 100th game. I won the 100th game there on February 12th, 66-55 over South Carolina. It's incredible. It really is. And the reason I bring it up, not to delve into the 100 games or break down UConn or anything like that, but really is more so is the topic of, is this good or bad for women's basketball? Is it good to have such a dominant team? I'm sitting here talking about it. Are we talking about it otherwise? Or women's basketball otherwise? Probably not. I personally don't think it is good overall. I know it sounds, contradicting, but I really don't. I think there should be at least 2 or 3 other teams that can contend with them. We're an event-based society. We like events. And right now, taking all Homer out of it, I can't think of another team right now that's going to knock them off. It's inevitable. They're just going to win. In the day that they do lose, we all think they're so dominant, we're not even going to watch because it's going to be very just shocking. We'll just wake up one morning. That'll get terrible ratings. It won't get any kind of ratings because it's just going to be a shock. But it is impressive. What they're up to 102 now? I didn't even look at that. I just know I'm pretty sure I didn't hear about them losing since the 100. I didn't even look at the ratings for that 100th win, but they've just built something there. And Gmo, I don't really like him. I didn't even watch the 100th win. Like I said, he seems kind of smug. I don't know, but he's just built something there. I'm not a big fan, especially him and Muffet don't really like each other. So being, like I said, we're all nuts. It's just what level of nuts are you as a sports fan? Well, I don't like him because our person doesn't like your person. So yeah, that just shows how nuts we are. But to be able to win anything 100 times in a row is incredible. If you could mow your grass right 100 times in a row, most people can't even do that, let alone, win 100 games in something that's not rigged, 100% competitive. It's not the Harlem Globetrotters. And it's amazing. And it just does show like the lack of talent that's out there in women's college basketball. It's very unfortunate. Great sport. Nothing against it. It's just, there's just a lack of talent. And they've built something to the point where if, say they have 8 girls coming up, well, UConn's going to get whichever ones they want, they're going there. And then the other ones are dispersed throughout the country that this top level of girls dispersed throughout the country and then can't they can't compete because they're not playing together. One goes to Baylor, one goes to Notre Dame, one goes to Tennessee, another one goes to Stanford. What's some other women's college powerhouses? A&M was good a few years ago. One goes here, there, and the third, but then UConn gets 6 of them of the same level, if not better. Well, gets the 6 they want. Hypothetically, if there's 12, let's call them 5-star girls coming out. Well, if UConn wants 6 of them, they're going to get the exact 6 they want, and the other 6 are dispersed throughout the country, not even playing together. They've built something, and it kind of reminds me of Mountain Union football. Small talent of sport, because Division III, you don't get the cream of the crop. But what Larry Kerr's built there, he went 332-24 with 3 ties in his tenure at Mount Union. But he built it, and they're continuing to win. His son is something like, I had it written down, Vince Kerr's is his son. He took over for his dad when dad retired, and now is 55-4 with a national title. His dad won 11 national titles there. He had winning streaks of 110 and 112 regular season winning streaks. He's built that, and it hasn't really fallen off. The national championships aren't there, but he only has 4 losses since he took over for his dad. 4 losses overall and a national title. In 59? Yeah, 59 games coached, and he's only lost 4. 1 national title. The national titles aren't there like they are for his dad, but he's built it. So Gino has built it similar to Larry Kerr's that was at Mount Union. Because I think even when Gino's gone, I don't think it goes away. It's such a small talent pool. I don't think it's going anywhere. It may drop off a little. You might see somebody else contending, or you may have that, but I don't know. I don't think it drops off too terribly much. I think UConn's always going to be, as I said on the last show, use the term the big scary monster at the end of the video game. I think they're always going to be that. And alternatively, as far as is this a good thing or bad thing for women's basketball? You could have 23 and, you had 30 teams that are 23-10 and passing around the title like a hot potato. You could have it one way or you could have the other. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. I don't think it's good, but it's probably about as good as it can be. I'm kind of talking myself into it being good. You can hear that, but yeah. I don't know, because we are talking about it. It's clearly on people's minds. Like I said, taking care of a few patients, and after college football talk, we talk college football here in Central Ohio, as you know, and it's February. We're 6-7 months away. So I don't know, but like I said, the next thing out of people's mouths is the UConn women's team. So I guess it is kind of a good thing, because it's probably better than, like I said, 30, 23-10 teams, and they pass around the title like a hot potato. Then you have, you can name people, you can name actual stars. The Breonna Stewart from last season. You know who Gianna Armiama is. You know who this guy is. Even Notre Dame people, how many people know right off the top of your head? Ann Muffet-McGraw. Exactly. So, and I'm hard-pressed to even hardly name any other coaches other than, Pat Summitt. Pat was awesome. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting topic for sure. But, Gino, it was funny. After they won the 100th, it was like he wasn't even all that excited about it. He was like even saying he kind of never wanted to go 100-0. Just think about that. Think about that. That's insane to me. You don't want to win every game that you play? Isn't that why you play? That you play to win the game, Herm Edwards. I don't know. Interesting. So that leads us into our Homer in the Hole for the week. Again, Homer in the Hole every week will be, or each episode will be something I'm passionate about, one of my teams. Like I said in the beginning, in the opening there, Homer in the Hole this week is going to be the 2018, not 17, not the class that just came through, because I'm going to cover them in a all Notre Dame episode, all Notre Dame special. That should get terrible, terrible amounts of listens. I'm sure of it. I'm sure everyone will listen to it with all their gear on. But the 2018 class, man, it's something else. It is something else. If you haven't been paying attention to recruiting, if you're not like me and don't follow year-round, we're ranked number 2 right now. We got 11 commitments right now. 11 commitments. And, National Signing Day for 20 put this in perspective. National Signing Day for 2017 just got over with. And we now already have 11 commits. That's awesome. Kelly's doing some work up there. That is for sure. Kelly is definitely doing some work. The last time, actually, Notre Dame had 11 commitments. Well, we've never had them this early. But the last time was the 2013 class. On April 21st, they got their 11th commitment. And we're sitting here in, 225, February 25th, and we just got our 11th one the other day. And, yeah, it's looking nice. It is looking nice. Really happy with what Kelly's done. He's really took it, look at himself in the mirror. I don't want to get too in-depth. I just want to talk about this class because I have a lot of opinions. I'm really excited about the Notre Dame special that I plan to do in the coming weeks, possibly next week. I'll keep you updated on the Facebook page. But let's just take a look at some of these recruits. I want to just focus everybody's attention on about 5 of them. First off, Phil Jerkovic. He was the first commit of this class, 4-star quarterback. He's the number 1 quarterback by some scouting services. I think ESPN has him at like number 4, but they hate us, and we forever just called him the 4-letter network just because they hate us so bad. Then you have Marquise Stepp, running back out of Indiana, Cathedral High School there in Indianapolis. Again, I don't want to get too deep into some of my opinions, just because I have some very passionate things that I want to say about Notre Dame, but you'll hear this term a lot because it's something I think we need to do. But with Marquise, we put a fence around the state of Indiana on him, and I think that's really, really important. Really important to keep that fence around the state, and that's about as deep as I'll go on that because there's also some negative to that I don't think that we're holding up our end of the deal. The other recruits that I want to take a look at here is Kaylon Gervin out of Michigan and Derek Allen out of Georgia. And why I don't bring up the whole class because, again, you could do an hour of breaking down one guy. So I don't want to do that. And with all due respect to the other guys, Micah Jones and Cole Mabry and the 2 twin brothers that it's killing me to pronounce their names. It's Adamola. It's Jason and Justin out of New Jersey. We got twin brothers coming in on the defensive line. And we got Bo Bauer and then Ovia Gofu, linebacker out of Michigan. But the reason I bring up the 5 that I'm talking about specifically, Marquise there, and then Phil, and then this Braden Lindsay, the recent recruit this week, and then Kaylon and Derek Allen, is just because these aren't recruits that we got in the past. With Derek Allen, we went down to SEC country and plucked him out of Georgia. He's a cornerback, and he's fast. That's all you need to know. That's not something we've been getting. I can't tell you the last guy we got from Georgia. Last big recruit was Stephon Tuitt out of Georgia. Man, good football being played down there. That's where all these athletes come from, these SEC athletes. Now, I'm not saying that this one guy is going to put us over the top or we've turned a corner or Notre Dame's going to win a national title this year, but I'm just saying that despite going 4-8, Kelly's looked at himself in the mirror. He's chucked everybody out the window, and he went down to SEC country and took Derek Allen. Does it matter right now? No, because it's just a verbal commit. But we went down there and we stole this guy for now. The next one is Kaylon Gervin. And why this is significant, he comes from Cass Tech. If you don't know what Cass Tech is basically like elementary school for Michigan kids. You go to Cass Tech, and then you go to Michigan. You know, anybody that's familiar with your transition to anybody in America, transition to middle school to high school, you know, a lot of these, you have a school associated with the high school, and then you go to the high school. Well, most Cass Tech kids out of Detroit, Michigan, you go to Michigan, and we took him from Harbaugh, who, like him or not, as Notre Dame fans, hey, Harbaugh can recruit, guys. Irregardless if he's climbing a tree or hopping in a pool or taking his shirt off, the guy can recruit his ass off. And, you know, being in the Midwest, that's the kind of guys we're going against. We're going against Michigan. We're going against James Franklin out in Penn State. We're going against Urban Meyer, you know, and that's big. If we got to keep a hold of this guy, and this season is so important to keep a hold of these guys. Again, I don't want to get too deep into it because we got a Notre Dame special coming up, and I'm going to be very passionate about these topics, and I'm pumped about it. The last one I want to touch on is Braden Lindsay out of Oregon. I can't think of the last Oregon recruit we got. Fast, very fast. He's a track guy, similar to Troy Pride Jr., who's running track for Notre Dame right now and just tearing it up. He runs a 4.440, and that was timed from his sophomore year, so he's probably just going to get faster. I think it's a 4.47 guy. 10.86 in the 100-meter. Can play corner. He's a two-way player, corner, wide receiver. So really excited about him. And the key is we're getting speed. We've got another quarterback coming in. And we got Marquise Stepp at running back. And we kept a fence around the state. These are key examples of guys that we need to continue to get. And I can't tell you how excited I am about Coach Elko coming in. He was again, I'm not going to get too deep, but he was my second choice. Listen to the next episode, the Notre Dame special, on who was my first and why. Elko was my second choice, but I was pumped to get him. We lost our OC. Coach Sanford went down. He's the head coach of Western Kentucky now. Wish him luck. But Coach Kelly looks like he's turning over the play calling duties to the new OC, Chip Long. So, yeah, there's a lot of excitement going on. And with recruiting, like it is right now, these are the recruits we need to get to win. Speed, guys from the South, guys from your rival areas, and a top-rated quarterback. That is what wins national titles. So, these are the guys that I'm excited about. Again, all due respect to the other guys. I know Cole Mabry, he just recently committed to. Very excited about him. Big offensive lineman out of Tennessee. I think Alex Bars was his recruiter, or his host when he visited. Just very excited about this class. And one thing about this class it reminds me of Jalen's class, or not necessarily Jalen's. Yeah, Jalen's in the class above him, the 2015 class that just left, is they all seem to get along. They're hyping each other up on Twitter. I'm not big into following these young guys. I mean, I don't need to follow kids' tweets and stuff, but there's some stuff out there. It's like, man, one guy commits, and then he's hitting up his buddy who's a top-rated recruit, and he wants him to come too. There seems like there's a close bond between this group, and that's good to have, because if they like each other, they're going to come. They're going to come. Hey, my buddy went there. Notre Dame's an incredible campus. That campus sells itself. As long as we can get you in there, we get you there on campus, your buddy's there, who knows? Who knows where this class can go? But these recruits right here, again, Derek Allen, Kalon Gervin, Lindsey out of Oregon, the Braden Lindsey, Phil Jerkovic, he's the quarterback. He's the first recruit in this class. And then Marquise Stepp out of Cathedral. So very excited about that. And like I said, we'll go ahead and get to all the more in-depth Notre Dame stuff ASAP. Which takes us to our cleanup section of the show. This topic, this drives me nuts. I can't wait to get Dustin Ware on here, my head jiu-jitsu coach and gentleman who's been on the forefront of all that is MMA in the state of Ohio, and I watched the UFC from the ground up, and he kind of knows more of the ins and outs of this. Honestly, this should be the in the hole topic, and not even a homer, because I don't care about this subject too much. Is this, I could slobber all over how 4-8 Notre Dame should have won the national title last year. How each game they were just a couple plays away before, and it'd be more productive than talking about McGregor and Mayweather. This fight shouldn't happen. This fight just shows the deterioration of the UFC and the steady decline. They've oversaturated their market. I don't want to get too far into that, because I do want to do a show with Dustin here later on, an all kind of MMA show, and talk about some opinions on the oversaturated market. But just to give you an idea, here in Ohio, you couldn't throw a rock when I used to fight. My last fight, I couldn't throw a rock without hitting an MMA promotion anywhere. Now you could have fought any weekend you wanted to. Everybody ran an MMA promotion. Everybody was psyched about it. We were selling out local venues for local guys, AMI fights, and selling them out. A lot of people showing up. Now I can't name one off the top of my head in Ohio. I think the NAAFS, is that even still around? I'll look that up as I'm talking to you. This would be a good time for a co-host. I could go ahead and look stuff up, and then somebody else talk for a half minute. But anyhow, yeah, it just shows, and the rankings mean nothing. And McGregor hasn't had to defend one of these belts yet. He wins the 145 title. He fights Nate Diaz. No, that one's kind of no fault of his. He tried to jump up and fight Dos Anjos. That's not even defending his title. Went up, fought Nate Diaz. He got beat. I just have a real problem with the UFC just trying to chuck a guy down our throats. And to be honest, I almost wonder how much the UFC, irregardless of what they say to the public, how much they may be for this fight. I got to believe this is a cash cow for them. I didn't have to make any notes for this subject because this is ignorant. It doesn't work for either side. Mayweather should just look at Conor and say, "I'm sorry, who are you again?" as much as I should be on the side as a jiu-jitsu practitioner and long time being involved in the sport, it's like, I should be on the MMA guy's side, but they've tried to force feed us this guy. And we've seen this guy before. The only difference is he's from Ireland. And apparently he can sell. I don't think the guy, he knocks a few guys out. He beat Dennis Seaver to get his title shot. Probably his most impressive one that people don't look at is Max Holloway. Max Holloway is on a roll right now. I don't know what right now Max Holloway could do to Conor McGregor, because he was pretty young at the time when he fought him. It took him to a decision. McGregor didn't knock him out. Fought Chad Mendez after Chad just got up off the couch and was losing that fight in the first round. Chad just gassed himself. Give him credit, comes out, he does what everybody wants to do in a fight, though, one punch and win against Jose Aldo. But then he takes low risk fights. I still haven't even seen the second Diaz fight, and I love the Diaz brothers, but it's just something that was chucked down our throats that we didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for that. And I wouldn't doubt if the UFC, I'm going to go out on a limb, make a drastic, prediction, that they didn't pay Nate to stand with him. And from everything I've heard, I said I didn't see the fight, I didn't. Everything I've heard, that Nate probably won that fight. First fight, it goes to the ground. That's it. You got a black belt under Cesar Gracie, take him to the ground. It's over. We've seen what Conor McGregor is on the ground. He's a joke. He's a joke on the ground. I just seen recently Kavanaugh, his coach, gave him his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Okay, that's great. But, this guy's being force-fed down our throats, and he can barely box with Nate Diaz. I guess, okay, not barely, otherwise he'd been knocked out if it was barely. But, he's standing toe-to-toe with Nate Diaz, but Nate's no Floyd Mayweather. It just doesn't make sense for either side. And there's no reason to buy this. There's no reason. It's a lose-lose for everybody, really. If Mayweather goes in and gets beat by him, it's really a lose for him. But in the end, that's not going to happen. Mayweather's going to go in and, he beat Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is probably, outside of Floyd, the best fighter in the world. And, Floyd, boxed him up, did what he does. Shoulder shrug, jab, move, beat you with his quickness, beat you with his smarts. And he's going to fight this Conor McGregor. That, if it's an MMA fight, then Conor probably wins. He takes him to the ground. I would roll with Floyd. I'd guarantee you right now, I roll with Floyd. I could beat Floyd Mayweather on the ground. Straight rolling. Put him on a mat with me. I will tap Floyd Mayweather, guaranteed. But Floyd, that's not what he does. All respect to Floyd. Floyd's a pro. I've heard stories about him being at the club at 3 a.m, and he has a team of guys, and he's drinking water, and he'll just look at his team and be like, "Hey guys, it's time to go train. Let's go." And that's what he pays them for. That's what TMT, the money team, that's what they do. It's just dumb for all sides. If McGregor, hypothetically, if they have this match. And it's not even being talked about what match it is. It's just being assumed that this is a boxing match. I heard a fun story the other day on a show where it was like, what are we even talking about? Are we talking about a boxing match? Are we talking about an MMA fight? Do we even know what we're talking about? No, we're not. We don't. We have no idea. For all we know, this fight could happen in 20 years, and it's a celebrity boxing match. But, let's say it is a MMA fight. Floyd's quick enough. 4-ounce gloves don't lie. If he slipped, moved, and tagged him, and Conor gets beat in an MMA fight by Floyd, that's a black eye on the entire sport. Your top guy that me personally don't think he's top, but the top guy you're billing is one of the best ever, just got knocked out by the boxer, going back to how the UFC got started. With different styles coming together, and who's better out of this style, the karate guy and the wrestler and the taekwondo guy and the jiu-jitsu guy, or whatever the case might have been. They're going back to that, and that's a huge black eye, man. And it's only going to get worse. WME, it's an entertainment company. They just bought the UFC, and the Fertitta brothers aren't there anymore, and it's always been about entertainment and about making money. I mean, they're a company too. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just going to get worse. You're going to see more of the CM Punk stuff. And, it's no fault it is. If I'm CM Punk, I take that. I'm going to make money. It's not his fault. It's their fault. And what they're lying to us, I think, is the problem with the UFC. They lie to us by telling us that they want to be up there with the NBA, the NFL, the NHL. They want to be that, the NFL. They want to be that. They want to be the fifth sport. Well, your rankings mean nothing. You shove fights down our throat that we didn't ask for. You pump up these people. Now, Ronda's a different story to me. Somebody brought up to me when I made this argument the other day, oh, what about Ronda? They shoved her down our throats too. Nah, that was different. Ronda was different. Ronda was first female female MMA sport in its infancy. I kind of get that one. I'm not a Ronda fan per se, but I get that one a little bit more than I do McGregor. We've seen the guys that can knock people out. He's been just gifted his way to the top. And that's not saying he's bad. It's just saying, he's making over $3 million. $3 million reported to fight. And you still got guys on the cards that are making less than $10,000. Wrap your mind around that for a second. $10,000 and $3 million. It just doesn't make any sense. If there's that much money out there, it needs to be distributed, and that's what pisses me off about the whole thing, is the fact that you have local MMA guys and guys that are trying to work their way up who never get their shot. And you have a guy clear up at the top who's making over $3 million, and if he does get his shot, he's going to have to win 3 or 4 fights spectacularly to stay with the UFC. And then if he does, he's got to have some sort of personality to be pushed. Otherwise, he might top out at like $25,000, $40,000 a fight. No, it's just not. It doesn't make sense. There's too much money at the top. It needs to be better distributed. Make all your money you want to off of sponsors and this and that, but yeah. There's too much money at the top. If you're having a guy making $3 million, there's no reason that your guys that are opening the cards should be making less than $10,000. But that's just my take on it. I think it's a waste of time. I think the whole McGregor-Mayweather thing is a waste of time. Honestly, what the biggest problem, this is my last thought on this, is I think the biggest problem with McGregor is they've let him get bigger than the UFC. They've let him get bigger. He talks to him how he wants to, whether or not it's playing to him or whatever they're telling him to. Let's say they're not. He's become bigger than the UFC. He's demanding what he wants. They should cut him. Cut him. Just hypothetically. Let's say this. Let's say they cut him. Where else is he going to make that money? The UFC can live on. They can live on past McGregor. They'll find somebody else to push. GSP's coming back. And for the UFC's sake, that is actually, it couldn't have happened at a better time. Couldn't happen at a better time. Ronda got knocked out. John Jones, he's doing whatever, blow wherever he's doing it. Pick me another star. Anderson Silva he's on extra rounds in his golf career. He needs to shut it down. Had Phil Davis was, up and just talking about up and coming prospects in the next generation. He's in Bellator now. Benson Henderson's gone. Your stars are not marketable. They're not marketable. And I think that's the reason why they're taking McGregor and putting him in the limelight and all this and that. But make him fight. Make him fight. And if he gets beat, he gets beat. Then we have another star to talk about. But make him fight. And then, like I said, he's become too big for the company. Cut him. See if he makes that money somewhere else. If he wants to talk to you like it. He needs to be more of a professional. They'll find another star. They'll find another star. It will happen. It'll happen, and the guy will deserve it when he gets there. The guys need to get more respect. The guys that are still there and still coming up, like Damian Maia, Jacare. Make these rankings mean something, man. If you don't mean anything, Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's still waiting on his shot. Dude's 24-0. He's fighting Tony Ferguson next weekend. If he murks Tony Ferguson, that fight has to happen. You have to say, hey, Connor, when that baby's born, I know he's taking time off for his kid being born, and I actually support that. But, dude, and that's the fight to happen. There's no jumping around. There's no Nate Diaz 3. There's no GSP fight. Well, if that happens, I'll pay $200 for that card. I would love to see GSP and Conor McGregor fight because that would be the end of that little Irish train, let me tell you. Because I've heard GSP is even better than when he was. If he could just shake the ring rust, the octagon rust a little bit, he'll be just fine. I mean, GSP is a freak. This is a guy who could, taught himself how to wrestle and was training with the Canadian wrestling team. And GSP's a freak. So, I tried to get this week's episode to be a little shorter. I didn't do a very good job of that. Right around the same time we were last week. So we'll go right into our backup quarterback section, and I'll give you a few places to find the podcast. The first episode is still not up on iTunes or SoundCloud due to my own technical deficiencies. It'll get there along with this one. iTunes, SoundCloud, and then, of course, our YouTube channel. Just look up the Domer Nurse Podcast, episode 1 and 2. There'll probably be some kind of picture I'll throw on there. I'm still getting the logistics down and the legalities of using music and stuff like that. So I want it to be a little more attractive. And, hopefully you guys are still enjoying it. Still enjoying some of my takes. It's just something fun I've always wanted to do. Let's go into our backup quarterback section of the show and see if we can save the show. So, you guys, anybody out there have any signs that cold weather's coming to an end? You would never know I was born in Ohio. I hate cold weather. hate it. I despise it. But there are certain sports events that I actually use in my mind to mentally get me through the winter. One of them just happened. These are my 5 signs or checkpoints or whatever, and you may say, oh my gosh, you're crazy. Well, I told you at the beginning of the show, all sports fans are crazy, so roll with it. 5 signs cold weather's almost over here in Central Ohio. Number 1, pitchers and catchers reporting. Number 2 is happening tomorrow. I don't watch much racing. I probably won't talk much racing. Daytona 500, man. I'm going to be watching that. I love it. The restrictor plate racing. It's fun. It's exciting. Third, nearest and dearest to my heart. Love it. March Madness, baby. Bring it on. Bring it on. And if you want to hang out with us, I do a couple-day man event for the first 2 days of March Madness. Hit me up if you're interested. And I'll kind of, if we're good enough friends, we'll backdoor channel what the agenda is for March Madness. Opening day, that's sign number 4. And the final one, by the time we've hit the Masters, man, we've made it. We made it. We're done with this cold weather. Whenever you listen to this, and to know when this was recorded, in the last 24 hours that we have had, literally, it was almost 80 yesterday, and it snowed just a little while ago, and looks like it's about to snow again. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys, anybody out there has signs or events that happen that you're like, man, yeah, like, okay, this happened. We're almost there. Again, that's the pitchers and catchers reporting, the Daytona 500, March Madness. We hit opening day. You're like, there's still some cold days to go. But we're going to make it. And in the Masters, when it gets here, you're like, hey, we made it. Oh, thank God. Take a big, deep breath. So that's the show for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Again, you can find, last week I didn't give out any of my handles or nothing. At DomerNurse09, at DomerNurse09. Actually, I don't even think I explained the Domer Nurse thing properly. I was so jacked to get this thing on. Again, Domer Nurse. I'm a nurse. I've always been a nurse for about the last 9 years, and Domer is what they call Notre Dame fans. Kind of a funny little name for Notre Dame fans because, the Golden Dome. So I kind of ran with the whole Domer Nurse thing. It's been a handle of mine on several things for a while. So yeah, I kind of roll with that. So find me on Twitter at DomerNurse09, Facebook page Domer Nurse Podcast. This is the official now podcast of the Notre Dame Club of Columbus. Let me try that again. Hop on the ledge here and try again. The official podcast of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus, ran by Mark Hassam. All game day watch events are at Dempsey's Food and Spirits. It's 346 South High Street. Great place if you're a Notre Dame fan to watch a game, or if you just want to get some good lunch or anything like that. Great place. I recommend all of it. All the food is awesome. Sports for the weekend. I asked myself how I was going to do wrapping up the show. I think I'll just tell you the sports that I'm going to be watching. Maybe you can leave a post somewhere, tell me what you're going to be watching. Probably tomorrow, going to be into, let's see, I got a sports meat sandwich tomorrow. I got Xavier basketball playing Butler at 3. Then Notre Dame basketball, got Georgia Tech at home at 6:30. And then I will be definitely watching the Daytona 500. Probably the only race of the year I'll watch. But there's like certain events you watch. Maybe I'll do a show on certain events you watch just because you're a sports fan. Yeah, we'll see how that goes in the future. Speaking of future shows coming up, this might get changed, so just roll with it if you're going to keep listening. Episode 3 is scheduled right now as the Notre Dame only special with women's basketball and men's basketball featured in the beginning, and then a whole rundown of the football program. Take a good half hour on the football program, everything from recruiting, coaching changes, anticipation for this season, Kelly, anything. If you have any questions about my opinions at all, or you want to talk about something, hit up the Facebook page, and we may start a little conversation on there. And then episode 4, we're going to be interviewing Ricky Smith, who is an NCAA official, and going to have one of our first interviews. Speaking of season 3, the All Notre Dame episode, sorry I'm skipping around here. It's what ADHD kids do. It'll be this debut, the podcast debut of my wife, who will be jumping in with me as a co-host. It'll be the first episode with a co-host, and then episode 4 will be our first interview with Ricky Smith, the NCAA official. If you have any questions that I don't already have, I won't post my questions because I want you to listen. If you throw some questions on the Facebook page or my Twitter, and if I like your question, I'll go ahead and get it asked if there's time. He is from New York, and he's a huge fan of all things Yankee, Knicks, New York Giants. So we're going to get his take on the James Dolan versus Charles Oakley thing. And then another guest. So 2 guests, 1 episode. Oh, God, it's all going to crash. Greg's not going to be able to handle it. We're going to have Ricky's son. I've got it secured. Ricky's son, Ryan, is signed his letter of intent for college football to continue his playing career down at Alderson Broadus in University in Philippi, West Virginia. So we're going to talk to him about his recruiting process and, how people, you hear about the 5-star, the 4-stars, 3s, this and that. Let's get a take from one of the local guys who signed with a smaller school, and let's hear their take. What's their recruiting process like? You don't get to hear about that kind of stuff. So got some fun stuff lined up for him. Excited about that. And then our backup quarterback section that on that episode is going to be just some rapid-fire questions, just some goofy rapid-fire questions with Ricky and Ryan. So, again, that's the Domer Nurse Podcast. That does it this week for Episode 2. Episode 2, again, on Domer Nurse Podcast on Facebook. Hit up the Facebook page, and then at Domer Nurse 09 on the Twitter. This is the official Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus podcast. Thanks, guys.